وجه نداء صادقا
كل أمل ونجاح.
Good afternoon. You're watching the English newscast here on Future Television. I'm Lina Tamima. These are today's headlines. Polls opened in the final round of municipal and Mukhtar elections in North Lebanon and Akkar. Heated electoral battles are expected in the Batroun region of Tanourin. Telecommunications Minister Boutros Harib says the elections should not be political. And in Iraq, Kurdish Peshmerga forces launch an offensive aimed at retaking areas east of Mosul. Polls opened in the final round of municipal and Mukhtar elections in North Lebanon and Akkar, areas that have witnessed repeated bouts of Syria-related violence in past years. As in the previous votes that have taken place in the country each Sunday since May 8th, thousands of police and soldiers were deployed at polling stations in a bid to preserve peace. General Security had announced on Saturday the closure of the Abudiyah border crossing to Syria for 2 days, coinciding with the elections. The crossing is set to reopen at midnight. Interior Minister Nuhad Mashnouk encouraged voters to express their opinions in today's polls, but to show restraint whatever the outcome of the elections are. Speaking to Jadid Television, Mashnouk said there were about 850,000 eligible voters in the north and that 273 municipalities and 798 Mukhtars were to be elected. Heated electoral battles are expected in the Batroun region of Tanourin and the Akkar town of Kubayat in the municipal polls. And alliances by the Lebanese forces and the Free Patriotic Movement strive to shake off competition from local figures. In Tanourin, the LF-FPM list faces competition from Telecommunications Minister Boutros Harib. After casting his vote, the minister said, quote, "Today's battle should not be political, but it should have developmental goals. We did not reject the inclusion of any individuals affiliated with political parties in our electoral list," end of quote. In the Akkar region of Kubayat, the LF and the FPM back a list headed by Tony Mkhail and Jean Shidia. It is running against a list headed by current municipal chief Abdu, who is backed by future MP Hadi Hbeish, former MP Mkhail Dahir, and the Kataib party. After casting his vote, Hbeish said, quote, "The residents of the town are presenting a good example of democracy. They should decide their own fate and avoid succumbing to pressure. I hope that voters will be motivated by municipal interests rather than political ones," end of quote. Thousands of civilians have fled an offensive by the ISIS group against anti-government rebels in northern Syria into territory controlled by US-backed Kurdish-led alliance. The offensive against the towns of Maria and Azaz threatens to overrun the last swathe of territory in the east of Aleppo province held by rebels and bring ISIS to the doorstep of the Kurdish enclave of Afrin. At least 29 civilians have reportedly been killed since ISIS launched the assault early on Friday. It came as the extremists were under attack by the Kurdish-led alliance in Raqqa province further east and by the army and allied militia around Fallujah in neighboring Iraq. The UN Refugee Agency says more than 700 refugees may have drowned in the 3 Mediterranean Sea shipwrecks south of Italy. More details coming up next. Welcome back. You're watching the English newscast here on Future Television. Iraq's special forces have completed a troop build-up around Fallujah ahead of an operation to retake the ISIS-held city west of Baghdad. Major Dia Tamir of the Special Forces Service says the last battalion arrived at dawn at the sprawling Tariq camp outside Fallujah. He says troops have recaptured 80% of the territory around the city since the operation began a week ago. Fallujah, about 40 miles west of Baghdad, is one of the last major ISIS strongholds in Iraq. And still in the country, Kurdish Peshmerga forces have launched an offensive aimed at retaking areas east of Mosul, ISIS's main hub in the country. The Kurdistan Region Security Council says the Peshmerga-led ground offensive backed by international coalition warplanes started before dawn. It said the operation involved around 5,500 Peshmerga and was aimed at retaking several villages from ISIS near Khazir, east of Mosul. The group explained it was one of the many shaping operations expected to increase pressure on ISIL in and around Mosul in preparation for an eventual assault on the city. 6 hours into the operation, Peshmerga forces had reportedly taken the village of Mufti. Iran's culture minister Ali Jannati says Iranians will not take part in this year's Mecca pilgrimage because of obstacles raised by Saudi Arabia, custodian of Islam's holiest sites. Saudi officials said an Iranian delegation wrapped up a visit to the kingdom on Friday without reaching a final agreement on arrangements for Hajj pilgrims from the Islamic Republic. The Saudi Hajj ministry said it had offered many solutions to meet a string of demands made by the Iranians in 2 days of talks. Agreement had been reached in some areas, including to use electronic visas, which could be printed out by Iranian pilgrims. Saudi diplomatic missions remain shut in Iran. Egypt's state news agency says a roadside bomb has killed 2 police and wounded three conscripts in the northern part of the Sinai Peninsula. Egypt has been hit with a wave of militant attacks that intensified after the military's ouster of Islamist President Mohamed Morsi in 2013. An Islamic State affiliate based in northern Sinai has claimed most of the attacks. Arab League chief Nabil al-Arabi has blasted Israel as a bastion of fascism and racial discrimination at a meeting of Arab foreign ministers that backed France's Middle East peace initiative. The Arab ministers at the end of the meeting adopted a resolution backing the French initiative and all Arab and international efforts for peace talks between Israel and Palestinians. In his speech to the ministers, Arabi, who has been a vocal critic of Israel, said the country has truly become the last bastion of fascism, colonialism, and racial discrimination in the world. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has rejected an Israeli offer for direct negotiations instead of the French multilateral peace initiative, which Israel has turned down. He blamed Israel for stalling the talks. The French initiative involves holding a meeting of foreign ministers from a range of countries, including U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, on June 3rd, but without the Israelis and Palestinian president. The Italian Navy vessel Vega has arrived in southern Italy's Reggio Calabria port this morning, carrying 629 migrants who were rescued from several boats in the Mediterranean. The ship was also carrying bodies of 45 victims of Friday's migrant boat shipwreck, including 3 infants. 3 vessels carrying migrants are confirmed to have sunk or capsized this week. More than 60 bodies are said to have been recovered, and hundreds are believed to be missing. Humanitarian workers interviewing survivors in Sicily said they had been told about another vessel carrying some 400 migrants sinking in the Mediterranean. The UN Refugee Agency says more than 700 refugees may have drowned in 3 Mediterranean Sea shipwrecks south of Italy in the last few days. In recent months, Idomeni, Greece, has been a tent city of over 10,000 men, women and children, refugees and migrants. Sanitary conditions were poor. There were scrambles for food, water and firewood. Most people slept in tents, but many slept in the open. Greek authorities started an operation on Tuesday to move the remaining 8,000 into new government sites. More details in this report.
For months, Idomeni, Greece was home to thousands of refugees and migrants at makeshift sites along the border, until the Balkans route was tightened. Most were from Syria, Iraq and Afghanistan. On Tuesday, the Greek authorities started an operation to transfer people to new government sites in northern Greece.
The operation started on Tuesday morning. It was an operation conducted only by the police, so UNHCR was not engaged. How many people have been moved? On the first day we had around 2,000 people being moved. Yesterday we had around 900 people being moved, and I think, I don't have the estimate for today, but I think it was something around 500 to 600 people.
UNHCR teams were on hand. Providing people with better accommodation and facilities is crucial. The conditions in the new sites vary. Some meet the basic needs but need improvement. Others are not adequate or safe and do not meet the required minimum standards.
The positive point probably is that it happened quite peacefully. No violence was used, no abuse, as far as UNHCR could monitor the situation. On the other hand, if you have people taking a bus and they don't know how and where they are going, I think that, it's definitely not an achievement in itself.
The last group of refugees left Idomeni yesterday. UNHCR has offered to provide support to the authorities to improve sites. It has also called for alternative ones to be identified quickly to those that cannot be improved. The goal is to give everyone proper shelter and then provide them with information about their rights, registration, asylum, relocation and return.
A prominent member of Germany's far-left Linke party was hit in the face with a chocolate cream pie in an attack claimed by a self-styled anti-fascist group protesting her stance on refugees. The man who threw the pie was swiftly taken away by security and offered no resistance. Sarah Wagenknecht, who has advocated putting a limit on the number of refugees Germany should accept, is the second German politician to be attacked with a dessert this year over her position on asylum seekers. Beatrix von Storch of the Anti-Immigrant Alternative for Germany party suffered a similar fate last month. A Chinese detergent maker has blamed foreign media for whipping up controversy over an ad in which a black man washed by its product was transformed into an Asian man. Shanghai Leishan Cosmetics apologized and said it strongly condemned racial discrimination, but it pointed the finger at news reports for overblowing the ad, which first appeared on Chinese social media in March. The company pulled it, though, after the clip went viral this week and drew both outrage and scores of media reports outside the country. This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a recap of our top stories. Polls opened in the final round of municipal and Mukhtar elections in North Lebanon and Akkad. Heated electoral battles are expected in the Batroun region of Tanurin. Telecommunications Minister Boutros Harib says the elections should not be political. And in Iraq, Kurdish Peshmerga forces launch an offensive aimed at retaking areas east of Mosul. Those are your headlines in English for this Sunday. I'm Linda Tamim, and I'll see you again tomorrow for more updates. Take care.
وجه نداء صادقا
كل أمل ونجاح